He was off limits, younger, and dangerously tempting. I told myself I could ignore the pull between us. But every stolen glance, every innocent touch made it harder to resist. I didn't choose to feel this way, but I couldn't stop. And when the storm hit, we both stopped pretending. Please subscribe my new channel and like for spot my motivation. I didn't choose to feel this way, but I couldn't stop. It started on a Thursday. I remember the way the sun stretched across the window, making golden patterns on the hardwood floor of our small family home in Portland. I had just moved back after my divorce finalized, seeking a fresh start or at least a moment to catch my breath. My mom's best friend from college, Caroline, had been living with her son next door for the past year. I hadn't seen them in years, and honestly, I hadn't paid much attention when she'd mentioned them over the phone. But that morning changed everything. That's when I saw him. Landon West. He stepped outside to wash his car. That's all it took. A wet t-shirt clinging to his broad shoulders, a pair of faded jeans that had seen better days, and that crooked smile he gave the wind like it had told him a secret. I hadn't seen him since we were teenagers. Back then, he was just Caroline's quiet, awkward boy who played too many video games. But now, he was a man. A tall, lean, devastatingly attractive man who looked like trouble and smelled like summer. I stood at the kitchen window longer than I should have, pretending to sip my coffee while watching his arms flex as he worked the sponge over the hood of the car. I wasn't proud of it, but something stirred in me, something I hadn't felt in a long, long time. Not even with my ex-husband. Something reckless. Later that afternoon, my mom hosted a backyard lunch to welcome me home. Caroline arrived with a tray of peach cobbler and that same easy warmth she always carried. But when Landon walked in behind her, all the air seemed to leave my lungs. "Landon," I said, smiling despite the heat I could feel rushing to my cheeks. He blinked, then grinned. "Avery? Whoa, you've changed." "So have you," I said, instantly regretting the breathy tone in my voice. He chuckled and looked me over in a way that wasn't overtly inappropriate, but still felt curious. Like he wasn't quite sure if he was allowed to think what he was thinking. Over lunch, we barely spoke. But our eyes met. A lot. During Caroline's story about how she once chased a raccoon off the porch with a broom, I glanced up and found him already looking at me. His mouth twitched when I caught him. And something in my chest fluttered. It should have stopped there. A harmless crush. A welcome distraction during a time of emotional exhaustion. But it didn't. The next morning, I went for a walk and saw him jogging toward me on the trail behind the houses. Sweat glistened on his collarbone. We stopped, talked, laughed. I told myself it was innocent. By the end of the week, we'd somehow found excuses to run into each other almost daily. Grocery shopping. Helping my mom fix a leak. Dropping off muffins his mom baked. Each time, there was this buzz between us. An electricity that hummed just beneath the surface. I started dressing differently when I knew I might see him. Soft tank tops. Shorts that hugged just right. I wasn't trying to seduce him, I told myself. I just wanted to feel seen. Desired. He noticed. Of course he did. One evening, my mom and Caroline went to a community theater event. I was reading on the porch when Landon wandered over with 2 beers in hand. "Mom said she and yours went to watch Shakespeare get butchered," he joked. I laughed. "Yeah, I escaped the tragedy." He handed me a beer and sat beside me. Good choice. We talked. About music, books, the city. And then, in a quiet moment, our eyes met again. Longer this time. He tilted his head and said, "You know, you've always had this calm energy. Like someone who could ruin you without ever raising her voice." That line. It cracked something open in me. "Is that your way of saying I'm dangerous?" I teased. He didn't laugh. Just looked at me, slow and warm. "I think you are." To me. My breath hitched. I looked away. But then his fingers brushed mine. Light. Almost accidental. But intentional enough to make my skin shiver. "I should go," I whispered, standing too quickly. He stood too. "Avery." I didn't let him finish. I hurried back inside, heart thundering. That night, I couldn't sleep. I tossed and turned, thinking about that look in his eyes. I told myself he was just being flirty. That he was younger, 6 years younger, not scandalous, but enough to matter. But my body didn't care. It remembered the way his voice dropped when he said my name. The next day, I avoided him. But that didn't last. By the following week, I found myself drawn back. He asked me to help pick out a gift for his mom's birthday. We ended up at a local artisan shop, laughing over handmade candles and weirdly shaped pottery. He brushed a strand of hair from my face in the parking lot, his fingers lingering a moment too long. I stared at him. This is complicated. He nodded. Yeah, but doesn't it feel kind of right? That was all it took. I leaned in before I could stop myself. His lips met mine halfway. It wasn't a fiery kiss. Not at first. It was slow, gentle, a question wrapped in warmth. But the moment our mouths truly connected, it deepened. His hands cradled my face. My fingers clutched his shirt. We kissed like we'd waited years for it. When we broke apart, we stood in silence, just breathing. I didn't choose to feel this way, I said quietly. But you can't stop, he replied. That night, we didn't cross the line. But the line blurred. Over the next few weeks, we kept dancing near it. Stolen kisses, long hugs, lingering stares. I found myself thinking about him in the shower, in bed, during the quiet hours of morning. I imagined the feel of his hands exploring every inch of me, the sound of his breath at my neck. It became a delicious torment. One late night, the storm knocked the power out. My mom had gone to stay with Caroline during the worst of it. I was alone, wrapped in a throw blanket when I heard a knock at the back door. It was Landon, rain-soaked, shirt clinging to him like a second skin. You okay? He asked. Yeah, I said, my voice shaky. You. I couldn't stop thinking about you. I swallowed hard. Come in. He stepped inside. The rain dripped from his hair. I handed him a towel. He took it, but didn't dry off right away. His eyes never left mine. I'm trying to be respectful, he said. I know. I'm trying not to touch you. My breath hitched. Then stop trying. He kissed me. Harder this time. Desperate. I responded with every ounce of want that had built up over those weeks. His hands slid around my waist. Mine tangled in his hair. Our bodies pressed close as we stumbled backward into the living room. We didn't undress each other. Not that night. But the way we touched, hands roaming beneath shirts, breath caught in throats, the thrum of pulses and barely stifled moans, it was intimacy layered in tension. We explored each other without going too far, but far enough to feel it for days. The next morning, we sat in the dim kitchen light, drinking coffee in silence. I felt raw, exposed, but alive. Should we stop? I asked. He looked at me. Could you? I shook my head. No. Then let's not lie to ourselves, he said. Let's figure it out. Together. And we did. Slowly. Carefully. Secretly. Not out of shame. But because what we had was ours, and we wanted to keep it sacred, untouched by other people's opinions. We never told our parents. Not right away. They still think we're just old neighbors reconnecting. But one day we'll tell them the truth, that something unspoken brought us together when we needed it most. That we didn't choose to feel this way. But we couldn't stop. And honestly, I'm glad we didn't. Because the way Landon holds me now late at night, when the world feels quiet and safe, makes every moment of temptation worth it. When his fingers trace my spine and his lips brush my collarbone, I feel wanted in ways I never knew I craved. He sees me. All of me. And I see him. We weren't looking for love. But love found us anyway. And no matter what the world says, that's something I'll never regret.